Hello, everybody, and welcome to Full Throttle Business, the show where we interview entrepreneurs and leaders and to uncover what it really takes to operate a business at full throttle. My name is Kelly Peitz. I'm the owner of Action Coach Central and Southeast Virginia. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop new shows just like this one. Today, I have Mary Landgrebe, the founder and CEO of Well Retailed, as my guest. Welcome, Mary. I really appreciate you taking time with us today.
Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate being on your podcast.
Well, to set the stage for the viewers, give us a brief overview of your background and tell us a little bit about your business.
Okay. So Well Retailed was started 2015, and it was started out of a need um, for coaching in the retail arena. What I do is open to buy planning. So I help retailers with how much to buy and when. That whole background came from working in corporate retail as well as commercial real estate for a number of years. I'm a Purdue University graduate. We'll say that in March because it's not as shameful as some other months. I was a little sad about how it all came out this year, but went to Purdue University, studied industrial technology, and had an emphasis in organizational leadership as my major. So, boy, I've spent many years in the retail and real estate world, and it seemed to be a great need for small business owners to have a resource to to have a budget and to understand their businesses better.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the role that you currently play in your business.
So I am the owner and CEO, and I am the primary coach. There are several in my organization. We have a technology person. We have some data support, and then we have another coach on board with us. So there's two of us working in this role. But I do everything kind of from soup to nuts right now. Had this built as a pretty good sized company several years ago, and had some health issues last year, and so peeled it back a little bit and got it to be where I could manage it more myself, and then we're ramping back up again.
All right. So when you look at your role, how many hours do you spend working in the business, doing the job, doing the coaching versus on the business, the strategy planning, growth planning, things like that?
So I probably spend I'm probably 80/20. I'm 80% in the business, working with my clients, coaching them through sometimes their day and whatever challenges they're having that given week. And then 20% probably on the business, focusing on what are the next steps for the business. We've got some big growth things coming up this year. We're going to be adding some consultants, and we're adding another channel of business. So lots of business planning around that.
Yeah. So let's move into what makes your business special. I mean, who primarily do you serve? And if I were in the audience, how would I know that I'd be a good fit for your services?
The majority of my clients are retailers that own either women's apparel or women's apparel gift home decor. They range in size from startup to in the 20 to $50 million range. So I have fun with both. It's really fun starting up a company and watching them blossom into what they can be. And then it's really fun to scale a business as well. So if you're in a business where you're ready to scale, you have an online presence and you're not sure how to plan your way through that financially or from an inventory perspective, that's who I am and what I do.
Okay. So you're focusing really on some of the retail specific things when you're working with your clients?
Yes. I spent
Okay.
the last week and a half I was at both Dallas apparel market and Atlanta apparel market. So staying in touch with the trends, able to meet with clients and see exactly what their challenges are in buying for their stores and making sure that they have the goods they need when they need them to sell.
Yeah. So what makes your business unique? I mean, why do your customers or your clients choose you?
So I do have I work very specifically in that world, in the boutique world. And so I have a good knowledge between all of the sales channels. So between live selling, e-commerce and brick and mortar sales. So um, really, it's a very personal touch business. I end up having personal relationships with most of my clients, just being friends and understanding what their goals and dreams are for their lives and for their families.
Yeah. Yeah, because clearly, when you own a business, it's supposed to serve you as the owner, right? Not the other way around. So, um, what's helped your business grow?
Well, it's my business has grown word of mouth. I'm affiliated with a group called Boutique Hub, and really how I started was just jumping into their Facebook group and answering questions for people and becoming a resource. And honestly, I gave away a lot for free. It was engaging and helping people understanding their business and leaving them wanting more. And so that was where the business started. And then I've had some really good success stories with some clients of scaling businesses in big ways. And that word of mouth travels very fast in that community.
Okay, so how do you compare to your competitors, or how do they compare to you?
I think I don't really view competition as any, like, it's just not, I do what I do. There's room in this world for everybody. I'm going to click with some people. I'm not going to click with others. Same thing with other businesses that do this. So I stay focused on who I am, what drives my clients, what gives me satisfaction, and I don't really worry about competition.
Yeah, that's a good way to view that. It's kind of like the more. Uh,
Well, it's kind of like when you operate with integrity, you don't have to worry. So you march down the integrity path of really having the motivation of helping people and in their business, and it can morph into something really amazing. But it all
yeah,
starts around that integrity piece.
yeah, absolutely. And that abundant mindset,
Yeah.
operating out of abundance versus scarcity. So this leads me to marketing. So which that's, marketing is vital for every business out there, and it's an area that a lot of business owners struggle with. So for your business, how many different marketing strategies do you use?
Uh, not many. My plate has been filled up really with a word of mouth business, so I'm just starting on a marketing strategy. Again, I had one several years ago before I scaled things back. I truly did, a lot more social media, but really it's interaction on an education level is the marketing that I do, and
Mhm.
that really is all it takes to fill my dance card. So.
Okay.
Um,
So what approach have you taken to track your leads? Do you use a CRM,
I
or
do.
something like
I
that?
use HubSpot. And when you're a small organization, you have to use all the tools you can. And so instead of employing people to do it, I've put together technology to do it for me. So
Mhm.
I have HubSpot. I record my meetings through transcripts. They track back to HubSpot. And so I'm using some different technologies to use the AI analysis and all of those things to get the best out of what I'm doing, and also to remember what's gone on in the business from meeting to meeting, like being able to
Yeah,
get the plants back and say, okay, where did we leave off, and really taking advantage of the technology tools that we have out there.
absolutely. And AI, there's so many things out there
Uh,
now. It's just overload almost on
yeah,
what you can use.
almost. I think ChatGPT has become probably one of my best friends. It seems to know me and understand me pretty well. So
Yeah,
I
it's
do use
amazing.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've created some custom chat or custom GPTs for marketing stuff. I do it
Yeah.
for these when I put the transcripts of the videos in, it pushes out, 20 different, things that I can market with. So
Yeah.
totally makes it easy. So, um, well, we've spent some time focusing on the business and shared some of your best practices. Let's take a step back and dive into your journey a bit more. Why did you choose to go into business for yourself as opposed to working for someone else?
Well, I spent a good portion of my career working for other people. And I worked between corporate and small business. And I got to be mid 40s and got sized out of a job and made the decision that I didn't want to continue to do the 6 years here, 7 years there, and have to reinvent myself every single time. So I took that opportunity to create my own way. And that was when I incorporated. It was in 2015. And it was built truly out of necessity. And then the other thing that happens when you go to start a business in that way is you work quickly because it's do or die. And you either got to make it work quick or you got to go get a job.
Right.
And, so many people, so many entrepreneurs, I think, get in the mindset of I need to have the perfect plan to do it. And I think you need to have a structure around it, and then you got to jump in and go.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it takes a lot of work. I mean, it does take a lot of work, and there's moments where you're sure you're going to fail, and when you take that I will not fail attitude, it's like this is what I'm doing and I refuse to fail. It's
Mhm.
amazing how quickly things can come together. So
Yeah, and when
it's
you
about
have
work.
no fallback plan, when you burn the
Yeah,
boats, you have no choice. You've got to make it work, right? So
right.
what was that transition like for you going from working corporate into, building your business?
It was, you can have a series of bad bosses. Um,
Hmm.
and, I think we all take the good and the bad from each situation, or I hope we take the good and the bad from each situation. But I did a series of who I wouldn't want to work for. And I wrote all the qualities of somebody I wouldn't want to work for first. And then I wrote the qualities of who I liked working for and what their best qualities were, and tried to emulate those qualities going into my business, and really just again being genuine and start leading with integrity. And that was I think my best bet for building who I am and what my business was going to be and who I was going to serve. And when you head that way, it attracts the people that you want to work with when you're your most genuine self. And that's I've attracted so many people that are I joke about them being the younger version of me. And
Mm.
and so it's really fun, and it turns into a big sister or a mom mentor kind of relationship of really getting into the feelings around building a business because it is scary. You have those moments where it's like, oh gosh, what if it doesn't work? And you have to put those aside and keep a clear mind about it. Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I I did it through Bible verses, honestly. There's several Bible verses that like when I started to go down that path, I would start down, Philippians 4, verse 6 and 7, and like let it like just take the fear away. So
Yeah. That's great. And it's a great approach that you said, you wrote all the qualities of somebody you wouldn't want to work for. And that's a great comment because you can use that in so many things. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what you want, but it's easy to figure out what you don't want. So sometimes it's great to start with what you don't want, and then okay, the opposite of that is what I want, and
that's
it
right.
makes it a lot easier.
That's right.
So yeah, so when you look back on the journey, what challenges did you face early on, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I think, you don't know what you don't know. And, it's really hard to go after clients and say, I know how to do this when you're not currently doing it.
Hmm.
So, there was a little bit of there was a curve to like really getting started, and getting that first client and really listening and understanding, and I did a lot of that, kind of pro bono. Like, can I get into your business, and can we have some conversations about your business and help me understand what's happening? So I did a lot of volunteering. I started on boards. I went to SCORE, and gave workshops with SCORE. I got involved with the local retail alliance to just gain understanding and credibility. So I mean, those were the challenges is just really how do you get that first client? And
Hmm.
then once you get that first client, handling it the right way, and um, admitting when you don't know. Don't fake it because it'll come out in the wash. You have to say, I don't know. Let me research that and get the best answer back to you.
Yeah, yeah. So, what's been a recent challenge that you're dealing with?
Oh gosh, I think the changes in technology. I don't know that I'd call it. It's such a great thing, but it also can be a challenge because it's all moving so quickly that you have to make sure you're staying ahead of things. So, just keeping up to date with what the technology changes are in the retail world. People like to say tariffs and all of those things. It really The economy is kind of following what the tariffs are doing, so it hasn't really been as big of a hiccup in the world as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I thought we were going to be
Yeah.
in big trouble going through some of that stuff, but it's the same general challenges. You just have to plan. You have to plan carefully ahead for what's coming next and what do you need to be prepared for,
Yeah.
and then tackling it as it comes.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned tariffs and economy and stuff, and you work with business, I work with business, and you hear these excuses all the time, right? These excuses of why this is this and why this is that, and they're just excuses. It's like, you know what? There's always going to be something, tariff, something. So if you're using that as a reason why you can't, then you're just making that as an excuse for yourself, you know?
Yeah, I think, you see attrition in any time, and I always use the example of construction. Like when times are good, anybody can get into the construction business and they can, go build stuff and put floors down and do all the things. But when times get tough is when the cream rises to the top. And I think we're in a cream rises to the top right now, where you have to be running your business more efficiently than you ever have before, and you have to be really paying attention to the details and the money and where each nickel and dime is going.
Yeah. So let's fast forward a bit and look at what comes next. Where do you see your business in the next 3 to 5 years?
So, we have a growth and expansion plan. It's for me, it's affiliating with other organizations and building on what I know and how I do things, and then also adding people to my organization as consultants and mentoring people along the way, so that there's a legacy of things to do. So
Mhm.
I see the business grow. I mean, look, the retail business is never going to go away. It's going to bounce back and forth between e-commerce and brick and mortar. I don't think we're ever going to lose either one. I think we'll see shifts in the e-commerce business as more AI is available. I think we're going to see the live selling channels become more real as well. I saw a demonstration of a technology yesterday that was really fascinating. It was the ability to go live, and it popped right into Shopify, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok all at the same time. So it was live on all of those platforms for that particular business at the same time. That ability to reach customers in such a personal way, I think, is really going to change it for the business owners, and therefore, me staying ahead of the technology is going to be just absolutely mission critical.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting. So what's been your approach to goal setting? I mean, how many goals do you set at a time? How do you document them? What's the time frame?
I generally I set year goals really more around um, what what I want to feel and what I want to accomplish and my level of satisfaction out of business. And I think when you can start there, you have a better quality of life, so to speak. Blocking your calendar to make sure that you attend the important things, family events. Um, those are critical in business ownership. I don't have kids, but I do have things and people that are important to me, and taking the time to really mark those off on the calendar and make sure um, that those are taken care of. I also set, daily goals. I do keep a list. I keep a little desk buddy in front of me that has a little whiteboard that I can keep track of what are the things I need to knock off by the day, by the week, and by the month.
Mhm.
So, but the big goals really come annually. And they're kind of big goals where you're, setting your alignments and where you want to be, and
Mhm.
then setting the details around that as the monthly goals.
Yeah. So, when you think about the future of the business, it's important to address the topic of building a great team. How would you describe your leadership style and how has it evolved?
Well, it's evolved. I mean, again, I think some of the best experiences I had were in people that were very difficult to work for, and understanding, would I work for me? And writing down that list of, gosh, if I were somebody else, would I want to work for me? And really taking those seriously, and making sure that the mechanisms are in place to communicate, make sure that the people that work for me feel important and needed, and very valued. So, and that comes in many different fronts, and everybody's different in what they feel valued by. So I have one that feels valued by just verbal reinforcement. I have another one that feels valued by accomplishments and specific tasks. So understanding who you're hiring and what your needs are for the business, and then how to lead each person so that they can be the best that they could be at what they do.
Yeah. So what's been your approach to hiring and retaining your team members?
I really love referral hiring. I love like reaching out to friends and saying this is what I need, and I'm looking for a person, and then just being patient. The first I did kind of revamp things a little over a year ago. Had to dismantle things, and kind of start fresh a little bit. And so it was like, okay, I'm going to do this the right way, and just managing the growth so that it was in perspective um, with who I was hiring and what I was hiring for. So making sure that, gosh, as much as we want to grow fast and we want to do all the things and get big, but sometimes that scaled growth needs to be very methodical and thoughtful, and that means getting the right people in the right seats.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so really taking the time to make sure those are the right people, spending the time with them, getting them the resources and the tools that they need, so that they can do their job the easiest too.
Yeah.
So don't skimp on technology for them. Don't buy them the cheapest computer. Don't buy that, like those are the
Yeah.
kind of things that really make a difference and make somebody want to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, you mentioned growth and how the fast growth versus, sometimes you have to be methodical. And it's so true. So many business owners want to grow, grow, grow that they take their eyes off profit. And we always say you have to be patient for growth, but impatient for profit. Because you can grow, grow and make a bunch of revenue, but your profit can be terrible. So you gotta make sure you're very patient for that growth but impatient for the profit.
That's
So
That's right. I mean, I have a client that we just took a real good look at her financials based on her financial performance based on each vendor that she was working with, and which were the most profitable vendors she was working with. And her top selling vendor was not making her any money. And so we cut it out, thinking that was really going to pull back sales but increase profitability. And it didn't pull back sales at all. What we found this past month is that not only did she have the same top line sales, she had twice the profitability. So
yeah,
when you're growing a company, you've got to be that thoughtful about it. And that means sometimes getting payroll out of whack a little bit to make sure you got the butts in the seats where you need them, and then
yeah,
and then growing the business. So it's like not
yeah,
growing the business and then coming back and trying to fix all the things that didn't go right. It's getting the pieces in place. So your payroll percentage sometimes gets a little bit out of whack when you're scaling. So
yeah. Well, I mean, what you mentioned is it's so important that, the financial mastery and knowing your numbers. And so many
that
business owners do not know their numbers. She probably thought she was doing amazing with this vendor because she was selling so much, but when you really broke it down and looked at the numbers and
that's
did a profit analysis and stuff, you say, wow, I'm not making my margin is terrible with this vendor,
right,
you know?
right.
So, so that's such a great comment that, business owners really they need to measure everything and really, know their numbers.
you have
Um,
to you have to have a great understanding of where it's going out and where it's coming in,
mhm.
and then really looking and making sure that those percentages balance out to where they need to be. Are you paying if you're paying rent, what percentage of that is your business? If you're paying payroll, what percentage of that is your business? What's in alignment, what isn't? And
Yeah. Yeah.
um, making sure that those all make sense for your business.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we work break even analysis and break even for profit with all of our
all the
clients.
time. Yep.
And and for retail, it's so important because you can get down to the number of hours a day you work before you're making a profit, you know,
You can.
or number of days a week that you're working until you start to make a profit. With retail, that's how specific you can get.
You can get that specific, but then you really have to look at cost of goods too, because in a growth period, you're taking every bit of your profit and pouring it back in to buy more inventory and buy more inventory and buy more inventory. And at some point, you want to slow down and let that level out and realize the profits that you're actually making so that you can
Yeah.
see what's happening in your business
Yeah. And knowing your highest margin
items.
things, right? The items that you're selling and making sure that you're selling the most of those, right?
Yeah, yeah.
and adjust marketing to that too. So, wow, we've covered a lot of ground today, lots of great nuggets. As we begin to wrap up, I have a few rapid fire questions, just top of the
Sure.
head answers for each, okay?
Okay.
First question, what's the key to success for you?
Satisfaction and integrity.
So, what's one piece of advice that you give to other business owners?
Make sure you're doing things for the right reasons and that you can look yourself in the mirror every day.
What's one book that's influenced your thinking when it comes to business?
Oh, there's a lot of them. Mm, um, the one that I'm reading, I'm not going to be able to tell you the title of it, but it's the guy who started the Savannah Bananas. Um, and it's Fans First is the name of the book. And it's really putting the people that you're serving before you and figuring out how to delight those people.
Hmm.
So that's been a great like just kind of book to to model my business after is like making sure
Yeah.
that you're putting your priorities in the right place. The other one that I read a few years ago and I'm rereading again is 10x is easier than 2x.
Yep.
And that book will say it all. It's like, am I doing busy work or am I doing the things that matter in my business?
Yeah, for sure. So, if you had to choose only one area of your business that you could immediately improve tomorrow, what would it be?
Um, Gosh, there's all the little things that you want to get done in the day. And at the end of the day, sometimes I'm just tired and I need to stop. So it's like, boy, if I could figure out how to accomplish some of the little tasks, tackle those a little bit differently, I think that's probably where I would want to be.
Okay. So, before we get into the final question of the day, how can others learn more about you, your company, and how can they get in touch?
So I'm on social media. My company is well retailed. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I do have a website. The website is in the process of being updated. But you can reach out to me at info@wellretailed.com.
So, Mary, last question of the day. What inspires you most these days?
The people that I work with. There's nothing more satisfying for me than seeing somebody that I'm working with really explode in their growth, whether that's personal growth or whether it's business growth or profitability. It's like whatever they've set out. My satisfaction is really lies a lot in other success. It's just fun. It's fun to see people so satisfied.
Yes, that's great closing words. Thanks, Mary, so much for taking time with us today.
So welcome. You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Full Throttle Business. If you're a business owner who wants to grow your company, increase profits, and get your time back, visit the link in the description and schedule your free strategy session.